How's it going, everybody? My name's Release Radar, and in today's video, I'm going to finally be doing my 1 month later review on the Valve Steam Deck OLED. I know I'm a little late to the review party here, but I got my OLED about a month ago, and at this point, well, I've spent a month with it, so let's get into my thoughts. Okay, so this is the 1TB Steam Deck OLED. There is also a 512GB model, but the only two differences between them is that this has the premium anti-glare coating on the glass, and it also has 1TB of storage, which the 512 does not have the glass coating, and it's only 512GB. But with that out of the way, the specs of this device are a 1TB NVMe SSD, a 1200 by 800 HDR OLED display with premium anti-glare etched glass, a 7.4-inch diagonal display size, up to 90 Hz refresh rate, a 6nm APU, and Wi-Fi 6E. So now let's just talk about everything that's on the exterior of the device, starting out with controls. Now I'm going to touch on the screen real quick because that can be used, as you can see, as a touch screen. So technically you can do functionality of the device with that. You also have two touchpads, one of which can act as a D-pad. So if you wanted to do this just to browse your library instead of using the actual D-pad, you could. This one acts as a mouse. You also will have your D-pad, select and start buttons, ABXY. The right joystick can activate a gyro aiming mode, which is really cool for some first-person shooter games. At the top, you have shoulder, shoulder, trigger, trigger, your volume buttons, audio in for an aux jack, and then the USB-C can do both power delivery and video, and you have your power button. At the back, you have 4 back paddles. And then at the very bottom, you have a micro SD card slot, which I currently have populated with a 256GB micro SD card. Also, really quick, I just want to talk about the accessories that you get with the Steam Deck OLED. So not only do you get the OLED itself, but you also get a charger, which I don't have with me currently, but you also get this really nice carry case. I mean, listen to how, can you hear, I'm knocking on the case right now. Super, super thick coating on the inside of it. And the deck just fits into this like a glove. You can just plop it right in. I mean, that's snug. That's not moving around barely at all in the case. Drop it, you close it up, it fits perfectly. Now, if you ever put any accessories on your deck, I'll say from experience that the default case that it ships in won't fit if you have a case on your deck. So if you have just a general use case on your Steam Deck, make sure to take that off before putting it into this travel case. But this is a very nice accessory to have. And you even get a little screen cleaner under here too, which I haven't used yet. But it's just nice to have. So the major difference between the Steam Deck LCD and the Steam Deck OLED is the display. So not only is this an OLED display, but it is also larger, higher refresh rate. This is 90 Hz. The Steam Deck LCD is 60, and it also offers HDR. So this screen has 4 pretty noticeable benefits over the LCD Steam Deck. And as somebody who had an LCD Steam Deck, I don't have it anymore. I sold it to one of my brother's coworkers, but as somebody who had it and used it, I can definitely appreciate the larger screen size. The bezels are just a little bit smaller, and the performance on this device compared to the LCD Steam Deck is a little bit better, but it's not like upgrade worthy. This is not like a Steam Deck 2. This is more like a Steam Deck 1.3. But with all that out of the way, I'm ready to start talking about the things that I really like about this device, and obviously the OLED display is one of them. I was playing Helldivers 2 and Banisher's Ghost of New Eden earlier today, and they both run on the Steam Deck OLED at around 40 frames per second on lower settings, and with the HDR display, they both look beautiful. The colors pop, and those two games do support HDR pretty well on the Steam Deck OLED, so I already have a video on Helldivers out, by the way, on the OLED, and I will have a video out on Banishers, probably also by the time you watch this video. I just haven't filmed it yet. The OLED display is just honestly really good. Colors pop, the blacks are super deep, and it is a fantastic display on the OLED. And also, another thing that I really enjoy about this device, which I also gave props to Valve on the Steam Deck LCD, speakers. Valve does not, as far as I know, make any audio products. They don't make headphones. They don't make anything like that. And if they did, I would buy them because these speakers sound so good. And to put that into perspective, like, I'm not just saying this to say this. I also have an ROG Ally and a Nintendo Switch right next to me. I'll grab them real quick. Here's the ROG Ally right here, and then this is my girlfriend's Nintendo Switch. It's not the OLED Switch, but it's still basically the same thing because, you know, Nintendo didn't do many upgrades with the OLED on their Switch. But these speakers sound super tinny, and while these speakers on the ROG Ally are pretty good, they're not nearly as good as the speakers on the Steam Deck OLED. So Valve, please make some audio products because these speakers sound really good. Also, being a 1TB handheld, I can store a lot more games on this compared to the 512 gigabyte Steam Deck that I had. And as somebody who makes those big benchmark videos, which by the way, one is in the works for this, having the ability to install all of these games and more. So right now I have almost 25 games installed. And if I open up real quick before I do that, actually, some of these games like Halo the Master Chief Collection are big in file size because that has every Halo game aside from 5 and Infinite on it. And so Enshrouded is also a decently sized game, but I also have smaller titles like Dave the Diver and Dredge on here, which I haven't played any of these yet, but that's why I like the Steam Deck. It is a backlog crusher for me. I even have Baldur's Gate 3 installed on here. And so if I was to open up the settings and go down to storage, I still have a decent amount of space left on the actual Steam Deck itself. And I also have a micro SD card with a decent amount of space left on it too. And so as somebody who records those big benchmark videos, the longest part of that process is just waiting for games to install, right? Because I would have to test out a bunch of games, uninstall them, and then install a bunch of new games, test those out, uninstall them, right? I don't have to do that with this. So 1 terabyte of storage, especially by today's standards, is, I think, the bare minimum for a gaming device. Like the fact that the PlayStation 5 does not have 1 terabyte of storage absolutely baffles me. But I think that 1 terabyte should just be standard on all of these gaming handhelds and pretty much every gaming PC or console from here on out, because games are getting massive in file size. And while I don't have any experience with the Lenovo Legion Go, I have, as you saw earlier, used the Nintendo Switch. I've used the Switch OLED, and I've also used the ROG Ally. The one thing that the Steam Deck just gets right compared to every other handheld that I have ever used is the grip. I can actually hold this in my hands very comfortably, unlike the ROG Ally. In fact, the ROG Ally, I would argue, was a little too thin to the point where that case that got sent to me by HeatFun has stayed on the ROG Ally because it allows it to grip more comfortable. So let me go grab that real quick. And as you can see, this case for the ROG Ally brings the profile very close to the Steam Deck, but the grips on the Steam Deck are still a little bit more substantial than that on this case on the ROG Ally. So while this is an awesome case and it definitely beats using the Ally without it, the Steam Deck still wins just in terms of comfort. Because this case, or I'm sorry, this is not even a case, this is just the deck itself. It's just so much more comfortable to hold, especially compared to the Switch, because Joy-Cons are tiny and there's no curvature to them, and I don't understand whose hands they were designed for. So Valve, I said this about the original Steam Deck, and I'm going to say it again here. This is so comfortable to hold. So from everything you just watched, it's pretty obvious to know that I'm a big fan of the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED, but there is a couple grievances that I have with these devices, and one of which, it's probably the biggest problem that I have. You cannot install games while the device is in sleep mode. I started this download for Assassin's Creed Odyssey last night, and it's still not done because when you put the device to sleep, the download stops. I don't know why Valve can't get this figured out, but with an OLED screen, I don't want to just leave it on because I know burn-in is kind of becoming more of a myth with OLED devices, but it's still something you do have to be worried about somewhat. And I don't want to have to leave my Steam Deck just on in the other room just so it can download games, but you cannot download games while the device is in sleep mode, which is very annoying. Another thing that I don't like that much about the Steam Deck OLED, and this is just the case with most handheld gaming devices, is battery life. Now, I will say it depends on what game that you play, and the Steam Deck OLED does have overall better battery life than the Steam Deck LCD, but if you play a game like Assassin's Creed Odyssey or Baldur's Gate 3, you're probably not getting more than 45 minutes to, at maximum, an hour to an hour and a half of battery life out of this thing. Now, if you play a lighter title like Dredge or Dave the Diver, you should be good to get a couple hours of battery life, but this is just the nature of the beast with these handheld gaming devices. You have to be plugged into something to be able to get extended play sessions out of it. And having to be tethered to a wall all the time kind of kills the appeal of a handheld. It's something Nintendo has really, really down with the Switch. But, you know, you're just going to run out of battery pretty fast playing a lot of these games. So it just kind of is what it is with a handheld gaming device. But those are really the only two problems that I have with the Steam Deck and the Steam Deck OLED. Sometimes the devices do crash. I have had one crash with this thing, but I've had it for about a month. So that's not that bad. It's still kind of a tinker's kind of device. But overall, I think the Steam Deck OLED is a great device. It's a lot of fun, but if you already have an LCD Steam Deck, it's just not worth the upgrade. While the improvements are very nice, and I do wish this was just like packed in with even better hardware, more so than it already is. So this could be like a Steam Deck 2. But if you have a Steam Deck, this is not a Steam Deck 2. So there's no reason to really rush out and buy one of these if you already have a Steam Deck, because it really does not offer that much of an advantage over the original Steam Deck. But if you don't have a Steam Deck yet and you're looking to get into the handheld gaming market, this is really nice, but because of the OLED, this is not that far off of the price of the ROG Ally. And while the Steam Deck OLED definitely has its benefits, so does the ROG Ally with native Windows support, so you can play games like Call of Duty, not have to mess around with anti-cheats or side-loading Windows. You also just have Windows, which definitely has its cons, but also has a lot of pros with, as I said already, anti-cheats. So you can just play a lot more games on the ROG Ally, and it just runs games better than the Steam Deck OLED does. But then there's just the big factor of cost. This thing cost $650 before tax, and after tax, it was about $750. That is enough money for you to go out and buy a Xbox Series X or a PS5 with a subscription to Xbox Game Pass or PlayStation Premium with an extra controller and a couple games and a monitor, right? So for $750, you can find a used monitor on Facebook Marketplace, pick up a couple games on sale on the PlayStation Store, grab another controller, grab a subscription to PlayStation Premium Basic, and have an entire PS5 gaming setup for the same amount of money it costs to get a Steam Deck OLED. It's just the factor that these devices are just getting more expensive. So think about the kind of gamer that you are. Me personally, I have a huge backlog of games on Steam that I'm trying to crush, and this thing is helping me do that. If you're like me, I definitely recommend the Steam Deck or the Steam Deck OLED. They are great devices if you already have a huge library of games on PC. And it's also not a bad way to get your foot in the door into PC gaming, right? If you've never owned a gaming PC before and you want to start building out your gaming library, maybe pick up the LCD. It's a little cheaper, or get the 512 gigabyte OLED and not spend $700 if you don't want to, right? Or you can even find these things used pretty regularly on Facebook Marketplace. I've seen a bunch of them near me. So it's a great device for crushing your backlog. It's a lot of fun, and I even take mine with me when I go home for the holidays because I don't have my laptop anymore. I sold that, and this is just a much more portable solution, so I can play games during downtime during Christmas or Thanksgiving when everybody's in a food coma and I'm lying in bed just playing games casually, waiting for us to just hang out and play board games or something. It's a great way to kill time on a flight, so I really recommend the OLED if you think those things are right for you, but it is just kind of a pricey device. So this was my review of the Valve Steam Deck OLED. It's a great little device. I really like it, and it fits my use cases perfectly. And go ahead and ask me down below if you have any questions about it. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Sorry this video is a little unorganized. I'm in the process of moving in like 5 days, so I'm stressing out about that. But this was a quick review and impressions of the Steam Deck OLED. Thanks for watching. Peace.